What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog, back in Standard with a Abzan Clerics list. That's right, we already tried our hand at a Orzhov Clerics list, which is a pretty solid deck. Definitely very reasonable. Abzan is interesting, though, because we get access to things like Eerie Ultimatum, which we're in 2 copies. So in a lot of ways, our deck is largely built around this card, but we can definitely win without it. You know, Clerics can definitely get the job done by themselves, but this definitely gives the deck a different dimension, especially with how much removal is prevalent in the format. We also have access to Acolyte of Affliction, which is a human cleric, of course, for 4 mana. You get a 2/3. Not the greatest stats. However, you mill 2 cards when it enters, then you get to return any permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So it kind of synergizes with our Eerie Ultimatum by filling our graveyard, and then if we want to get something back, land even, to kind of get to our Eerie Ultimatum, which is, you know, obviously pretty expensive. Those ultimatums are 7 mana. And, you know, pretty intense mana cost, double white, triple black, double green, which we're literally just splashing green for the Ultimatum and the Acolyte. And one other card, which doesn't directly have green in the cost, but definitely helps. Yeah, just give us some nice synergy here with sort of a light self-mill theme. Obviously, there's tons of rogues and mill and things like that running around. You don't really have to even go out of your way, but obviously in those matchups where your opponent is not milling you or doesn't have great ways to fill up your graveyard with removal or whatever, you need some kind of way to kind of fill up your own graveyard so that you can still get value in pretty much any matchup. But just 3 copies because this is nice. It has some decent synergy, but don't need all 4. Ultimatum's pretty expensive, so I don't really want to run more than 2 of them. Starting off here, we also do have some utility spells, so we're pretty heavy on permanents, but we do want to run a few utility spells here as well. So just going to try out Light of Hope. This card that kind of sees a little bit of play here and there. I think it could be kind of interesting. Enchantments, obviously. There's a Feldar's Retreat and some enchantment creatures, things like that. You definitely want to destroy them, and for 1 mana, it's pretty efficient for what it does. So we're going to give this another try here for 2 mana. And the life gain, obviously, with Clerics is pretty relevant as well, and putting counters on things could be pretty helpful as well, especially with Heartless Act is one of the other kind of premier removal spells, in addition to things like Bloodchief Circe, which, of course, we're running 3 copies, just fantastic here in the early game or late game. You want to hit creatures or planeswalkers. Our first Cleric here is Luminarch Aspirant. We're just kind of spreading the love here with 3 Aspirant, 3 Nullpriest of Oblivion, and 3 Cleric of Life's Bond. They all serve their purpose and do really nice things. Luminarch Aspirant, of course, puts plus encounters on your creatures at the beginning of combat. Nullpriest of Oblivion is a Menace lifelinker that can be kicked to get creatures back from your graveyard straight to the battlefield. And Cleric of Life's Bond gets counters every time you gain life, and you gain life every time a Cleric enters the battlefield. Also running 3 copies of Skyclave Apparition, just fantastic, of course, with the Eerie Ultimatum and that sort of thing. And just good removal in general. Double white and 1 for a 2/2 that exiles a non-land, non-token permanent. Mana cost 4 or less, so very efficient for what it does and versatile. 2 copies of Mythos of Nethroi. This is one of the cards that wants us to have Abzan colors to destroy any permanent and speed for 3 mana. Gotta love this card. Definitely want to run at least 2 copies here. We need to make room for other things like Skyclave Apparitions to lean more into permanents, so just 2 copies of Mythos. A couple legendaries here in Taborax and Vito. They each work well in their own right. Taborax looks really powerful on paper, but doesn't typically work out as well as you want it to in most situations, but it's a pretty cool card. 3 mana 2/2 flyer that gets lifelink, along with has 5 or more plus encounters on it, so get the Light of Hope to maybe get there. And whenever non-token creature control dies, you do put a counter on your Taborax, and if it's a Cleric, you get to draw a card and lose life, and all of our creatures are Clerics, except for, of course, the Skyclave Apparition. And the Vito, of course, whenever we gain life, target opponent lose that much life, and we can pay 5 to give all of our creatures lifelink, so Vito can kind of be a win condition in some ways. Basri is Acolyte. It's a pretty mediocre card, but I think it has some decent synergy with what we're trying to do here, and just kind of interesting and fun card in general. So 4 mana, 2/3, lifelink. It's okay, and then you get to put 2 plus encounters on each of up to 2 other creatures you control. So on an empty board, this is pretty bad, but if you have a couple other creatures out, this is great. So there you go, 2 copies. Mangara, it's pretty situational, but a very interesting card. 4 mana, 2/4, lifelink. You draw cards when your opponent casts multiple spells per turn, or or if they attack you with multiple creatures. 3 copies here of Orah, Skyclave Hierophant, kind of our Cleric Lord, if you will. It's a 4 mana 3/3 lifelink. Of course, when it or another Cleric you control dies, you get to return a Cleric card with lesser converted mana cost than that from your graveyard to the battlefield. So nice graveyard synergy with that, with kind of what we're trying to do with the self-mill and everything like that. Already went over the Acolyte of Affliction, and finally we have 2 copies here of Drana, the Last Bloodchief, Vampire Cleric, 5 mana, 4/4 flyer, pretty reasonable body there. And whenever it attacks, defending player has to choose a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard, and it returns to the battlefield with a +1 counter on it. Mana base here, we got 7 Plain, 7 Swamp, 3 Temple of Malady, 3 Temple Plenty, and all 4 of the Triomes. So keeping it real simple here with trying to play as many untapped lands as possible. We're just splashing the green, so we're going to lean on the Triomes and Temples here to help us get there. We just need the 1 green potentially by turn 4, and then we need 2 by turn 7. So it seems pretty reasonable with what we're trying to do here. And of course, having green for Mythos is pretty important as well. Mana base, mana base sideboard. Again, we're keeping it pretty heavy on permanent, so we do have 2 Duress, but we're also leaning on 3 Cut Sail Freebooters, 2 Elspeth's Nightmare, so lots of a little hand disruption with all these cards as well. A couple of Necromentia, since we are a little bit light on spells. Necromentia can kind of fill that gap by getting rid of multiple things at once, potentially, especially against linear strategies like Ugin and whatnot. Elspeth Sun's Nemesis can be helpful against certain matchups, especially against like Mill and that sort of thing. 1 more Mangara when that's relevant. 2 copies of Polukranos obviously works great against the Mill strategy as well with the Escape. And otherwise just giving us like a beefier 6/6 creature. And a couple of Elspeth Conquers Death for the mid-range matchups. Alright, that's the deck. We'll jump into some matches. Alright, and it's Dr. Chaos. Gotta go first. Hand's a little slow, but we are going first. 3-drop into a couple pretty reasonable 4-drops, so we'll give it a try. Maybe we'll find something like that. Perfect. Beautiful. Opponent also in Orzhov colors. So it could potentially be a Clerics matchup as well. Also, they could be running things like Heartless Act. So this Luminarch Aspirant should be pretty spicy against them. I think we'll put the counter there so we can start swinging. Well, next turn, we'll probably put the counter on the Vito, or we can just play the Basri's Acolyte and put counters, distribute counters evenly. I kind of want to get these Orah online first, and then we put the counters on the Vito and Orah with the Acolyte after that. Indulging Patrician, okay. So just your basic Orzhov life gain. Bloodchiefs is interesting. Is it worth killing this Patrician? Maybe. Let's get that off the board and just kind of take away our opponent's opportunity to climb back in. Especially keeps their board at a minimum as well, so it seems a reasonable option there. If that was, obviously, I had to take a whole turn off to Bloodchief's Thirst, but I could have vetoes and things like that. We might have rather hit, but haven't seen them yet. So, and got a feeling they're not off to the best start with cards in hand. I mean, they've got hit their land drops, so they definitely have options here. This card usually doesn't do too much, but we'll see. They might find some value off of it. Gain 6 life out of nowhere. Stabilize. Find some removals. We're pretty much in the point where we can activate Vito as well. We'll see what they do here, though. Well, that might just be lethal. They don't really have anything too interesting here. Okay, just a Vito of their own. Not super interesting. So we got our Orah online, and should have 3 power on both of these guys, and I think we got there. So we're gonna hit them for 3. Gain 4, which hits them for 4. Sweet. Alright, so kind of a mirror match. I think Taborax is pretty medium here with the Indulging Patrician. Just as a 2/2, doesn't really do much because the Patrician's a 1/4. And they're definitely running lots of creatures, so Mangara as a 1/of could still be fine. Elspeth Conqueror's Death is interesting. Maybe for the Light of Hope. We don't know what the removal package looks like is the thing. They're running, if it's enchantment based, and obviously Light of Hope is pretty good in this matchup. And we do have the Mythos, obviously. Let's bring in the Elspeth Conqueror's Death. Hits both their 3 drops there with Indulging Patrician and Vito. Those are pretty key cards for that deck, so if we can ECD them, then I think we'll be pretty good. On the draw. I mean, it's a lot of lands. If you mulligan this, we get no lands, right? Isn't that how that works? Alright, well, we can cycle if nothing else. I mean, our opponent was pretty slow out of the gates last time. Another tap land. Okay, Mythos. And this many lands. We're not super mana intensive. Obviously, we do have the Ultimatum potentially you might want to get to, but... Okay. Might want to Mythos that enchantment before it gets out of control. If there's tap out, play a creature here. We can Mythos the enchantment and then Bloodchief's the creature next turn, like a Vito or a Patrician. Nope, just the old Tavern Swindler. There's a Temple. I think we just want to get rid of that before they can gain life. Oh, we don't have the right manas, do we? We don't have the right manas. Yikes. Yeah, this Temple online. Alright, well. So I probably want those... It's 2 mana, so Elspeth doesn't hit that. Oh, they got 2 of them. Alright, well, we made a punt there. They actually hit with the Tavern Swindler for a change, so hey, good for them. Let's bring the Light Hopes back in to deal with those little enchantments. Actually, Elspeth's Nightmare is pretty interesting as well. Hits a lot of their creatures. I mean, there's some pretty linear cards in their strategy. I just like the Necromancer better though, probably. Can hit the Griffin Airy, stuff like that. So, yeah, a little punt there, but also the opponent had a pretty great start. Hitting the Swindler. 1 land with an Ultimatum in hand, probably not winning strategy. I should put the Nullpriest away and just hope for lands. Not a land, 5 drop. Well, we have Aspirant next turn, I guess. Well, some pretty miserable draws, but our opponents aren't really doing anything. Seem to have some sort of instant speed effect here, but not firing it off. So maybe it's a Light of Hope or something like that. Okay, they resolve Luminarch Indulgent Patrician. Luminarch Aspirant doesn't really do a whole lot here against that. So we're stuck on lands, even though our opponent got off to a slow start. Looks like they have a chance to really pull ahead quite a bit here, depending on what they have. How many times you're going to read your creature, dude? You should know what that does. Nothing too sexy. And they're reading these 2 creatures hardcore. I mean, if we're stuck on 2 lands, we're not really going to be able to do much. And once you find the 3rd land, though, I mean, we got some spicy stuff we can do. I'm not sure what they're worrying about our creatures so heavily here. They keep reading my creature and then going back to their creature just so they can revitalize. Cool. Not even going to attack? Sure. Necromentia on something? I mean, we've got a 4/4. Rid of the Griffonaries, the Vito. We'll go to combat first, see what happens. I'm fine with that. I just wasted a spell, we get rid of their creature. We keep our creature alive, that's pretty important here in this particular spot. Obviously, still need another land to get the Orah, and even one more for Drana. So we're not out of the woods yet, we still have 2 playables, thanks to these triomes. So they have 1 patrician, obviously, we've dealt with, so probably looking at like Vito or Griffonaries with this. So just gonna have to wait and see what they do here. That's a pretty annoying one. Well, they can't actually sacrifice it here, so we'll go ahead and exile that. That way they don't get that value, get another creature on board. If they're running Heart of the Sacks, we'll go ahead and spread the love here, put the counter on the Skyclave. I mean, I can't imagine how much removal they have if they're doing, you know, Griffonaries plus things like Unexpected Fangs. Oh, that's a removal spell. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You get the food token, but 4 mana is pretty steep just to kill something. And gain some life just for the sake of gaining life. These decks often run like Clackbridge Trolls as well. I feel like it's like the same deck that somebody, I don't know if it's a starter deck or... I'll just name Vito and just be done with that. I do get to look at their hand. 2 more Patricians. Wow. Just 1 Vito? Are you serious? There's the Clackbridge Troll. Just the one of. It's tempting to name Patrician. Wasn't not expecting 2 in hand. Would have given him 2 zombies though. They do have mana to Patrician plus crack the food to get that drainage action. Or you could just go for another Patrician here and try to set up for a greedier play next turn. Which would probably Apparition one of these guys. So I know they have another one, that's fine. Probably just get this Aspirant down next turn, make this a 4/4 so we can swing through. Well, they have Unexpected Fangs open as well. So we'll see. Definitely not out of it yet. They're just going to hold up Unexpected Fangs, that's fine. No, they're just going to revitalize. Well, there's a 4th land. That's pretty cool. Guess we just Orah here. They gain 1, take 2, lose 1, I guess. That's fine. So they gain 1, go to 17, take 2 from the 2/2 Apparition, go to 15. So they net lose 1. Unless they have some 1-mana spell we don't know about. A Light of Hope or something. Now the Unexpected Fangs, when it kills something, will get something back from Orah at least. We have just the 1 Aspirant. Those are pretty good in this matchup, so definitely getting that Unexpected Fangs out of their hands feels pretty good. So 1 unknown card. So removal would be good as well, if we can find it. So Resolute Rider can be pretty annoying. So we have Necromancer open as well now. I feel like just the Aspirant though is just kind of the way to go. See, they got a +1/+1 counter and something, so. And the fact that it does all those things is a little annoying. And now they get to untap with the Resolute Rider and make it indestructible and all that stuff. Okay, Speaker of the Heavens. They can stabilize their life total. It's going to be pretty nasty. If they do get up to close to 27, then we're definitely not coming back. I mean, we're already down to 11. It's already got lifelink, but they pay for it anyway. Block, give my 3/3 token back. Lose our creature. We're not in a good spot here. We do have to prevent some life loss. Alright, Basri's Acolyte. Just swing at the Orah, I guess. I can throw multiple things in front of it if they want. We're going to gain 5 life, though, that's for sure. Griffin Area, they're going to start pumping out 2/2s. Well, we do have lifelink on board, but we don't have an answer for this Resolute Rider, so that's super annoying. I don't know why they keep giving it lifelink when it already has a lifelink counter on it. And they should have attacked with their Patrician last turn as well, but. We'll block with our lifelinker. Soak up some damage. Got a Luminarch Aspirant down. Just 1 Vito, that's kind of crazy. We do want to get to 5 for Drana potentially, so there's that. just soak all of our tokens into this, counters into this aura and just try to gain life as much as we can. The Resolute Rider with all the open mana is super annoying. Silver Smoke Ghoul was pretty annoying. Library just 2. I do have Baneslayer Angel as well, it's pretty obnoxious. I'll just swing with Orah, I guess. I mean, gaining 7 is pretty good, but... So we have 2 creatures in our graveyard. Okay. Definitely want to get that Apparition down to deal with this Resolute Rider. I don't know why they keep sinking all their mana. I mean, they don't have anything else to do with it, so I guess. Taking 5, 6, 8. Plus 3, 11. Speaker of the Heavens. I think we're just a little bit too slow here. I mean, we do have the Drana now. Make our Apparition nice and big. Yeah, probably made some misplays. I was tempted to name Patrician with the earlier Necromentia, but I don't even know why they're blocking. They're at 28. I guess they want to stay above Speaker of the Heavens territory. So we do need to put a counter on our Drana to start blocking these 4/4 tokens. Wow, they're actually swinging with all those. I'll kill your Patrician. I'm taking 8, 11 again. Oh no, they don't get the 3 from the Patrician because they died. Huh. Let's go to combat first. So we get our Apparition or the, what was it, the Acolyte? I have to give us one of them. Or Basri, yeah, Basri's Acolyte. Start building up these aspirants as well. Can double block Drana with the 4/4 and the 2/2. Just want to chump block, keep their life total healthy. Alright, we got the Apparition. We want to exile the Eerie, the Speaker, and the Resolute Rider. So If we attack with Drana again, we'll get another Skyclave, because that's the only other creature we have in our graveyard. Oh no, we got that from the Acolyte. Never mind. So we're going to gain 3 from the Basri's Acolyte, having lifelink. We got something in hand. It's pretty cute. Okay. Cleric of Life's Bond. Well, they traded their Speaker of the Heavens for reasons unknown. And they're in top deck mode, so... pump up our lifelink creatures. Skyclave Apparition. Yeah, everything is token, so we have to take the Eerie. So we've got 10, 14 coming at us in the air. And we're up to 18. Okay, so we might be stabilizing. Okay, that can activate and become a 4/4. We're just going to sink all of our counters into these lifelink creatures and hope that's good enough. We're hanging on barely. It's definitely going to be tight. No creatures to get back, and a couple legendaries. It's a bit awkward. Just like swing all out and see how they block, and then just kick a Nullpriest and get whatever. Get something back that way. Seems okay. So not putting counters on all of our creatures to make them make more 3/3s, but we'll keep the ones that can't do anything. We'll keep them back. Nothing in our graveyard. Come on, opponent wants you on removal so I can get stuff back with Drana and Nullpriest. They can pump their Chorister and block something that way too, but they're taking quite a bit of damage. I mean, they're down 18. We're representing quite a bit of power. Was that enough? They didn't block our biggest creature. Wow, some pretty questionable decisions by our opponent. Let us kind of climb back in there. They kind of threw away their Speaker of the Heavens, their Patrician. I think if they were a little bit smarter with those attacks, but a little more patient, I definitely think they probably would have won against us. Not sure, we probably made some misplays along the way as well, but hey, we got there. Alright, against Van Damned. That's an awesome name. Go first. Sure, we'll Triome into Swamp, I guess. The Luminarch Aspirant ticking, unless we need to Bloodchief something. Temple of Epiphany. Okay, so they'll probably have some kind of a shock or something to do with our Aspirant, but hey, we found a second one. That's cool. Probably just look for another land. That'll do. Alright, guess we'll run it out there. Wow, no response. We'll make this 3 and 2. Try to build these guys. Could be running into a Storm's Wrath as well, maybe. Let's go to combat first. Let's let them pump each other up. If it is a Storm's Wrath, we're going to get blown out here, so we'll just hold. Well, they're missing a second red source. They have literally played nothing, so... Oh, inscription, that's pretty rude. Replay him, I guess. Okay, you can actually do anything, opponent. It's gonna bounce all of our stuff. Oh, Grixis. Kind of a Grixis control build, looks like. Dude. To the Royal Inscription of Insight. No actual removal, just a lot of tempo effects. Not really sure what the point of that is if you're like a control deck. Tempo is not really good. Covetous Urge, that's cute. I can Bloodchief Thirst and kill our Aspirant right now if they want. Got one in hand. So I want to bounce everything back to your hand so they can Covetous Urge it. Alright, opponent's annoying game is 100% on point. That is for sure. I'll take the 4. I can flash in this Brazen Bower to block our Taborax. We can spend 4 mana to kill Orah or Taborax. Or spend 1 mana to Bloodchief's Luminarch Aspirant. Mythos of Luna just to copy our Orah. Bloodchief's on Luminarch Aspirant. Awesome. Okay, Skyclave does not hit tokens. Okay, I guess they don't have a way to deal with our 3/3 flyer. So it looks like they're just all spell based. In which case, that's not going to do us a whole lot of good. And if it turns out they are running permanents 4 or less, then maybe you want this, like a Royal Scions, maybe? Based on what we saw, I imagine it's just all spells. All trying to steal your opponent's deck, kind of a thing. So bring a Mangara in case since they have multiple spells to play per turn. Necromancer can kind of hit like Mythos or Covetous Urge and kind of take out some of the probably running Cure Best of Sea God, I would imagine. Which is a pretty powerful effect if they can get to that point. So we'll see if we find our Necromancer where we're at that point of the game. Also let us look through our opponent's library and kind of make more informed decisions, but I feel like we have a pretty good idea of what they're up to. And okay answers here, a couple Duress. Elspeth Nightmare could be an option, but they would have to maybe play one of our creatures for us to get more value off of that, but I like the Necromancer is probably just better. And just keeping more of our creatures in to kind of flood the board a little bit. Don't necessarily want a ton of removal. Just to kill our own creatures that they steal, it feels pretty bad. Alright, so looks like they got distracted or interrupted. So Grixis, steal your stuff. Or their connection's bad, or maybe our connection. Don't typically have problems. Don't see Covetous Urge played very often, so it's kind of cool to see something a little bit different. Grixis, steal your stuff. 2 planes. On the draw, like maybe, but we'd have to find a black source. This is a much more keepable hand. Pretty slow with all these 4 drops, though. It's a style deck we could definitely get blown out here. Just sit here and do nothing, and then they just Covetous Urge, you know, whatever 4-drop we haven't played yet. And huh. Yeah, I don't feel too confident this game. And we're already down to 6, and we go down to 5 against them, and they just tempo you out. It's pretty annoying. And start stealing your best cards. But we have lots of 2 and 3 drops still, so we'll see. See what we can find. Our opponent just lost their connection, and it's a moot point. These sleeves are awesome. Birds of Paradise. Not everybody cares for the aesthetics. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I'd like to get one more game in, but I think I'm just going to wrap it up there. Obviously, would have been curious to see what the opponent's deck was more up to, but obviously that mulligan to 6 and against that style deck, probably not the best best outcome for us, but maybe in game 3 we could have made a comeback. So yeah, Orzhov was probably just a little bit better, a little more consistent, but Abzan definitely had some fun with this list. Eerie Ultimatum is a super sweet card, definitely like that. And playing with kind of a more graveyard, kind of a sub-theme is awesome. You know, we're not all in on that. We're not really actively trying to fill up our graveyard, except for with like an Acolyte of Affliction. So we're not super vulnerable to graveyard hate, which there certainly is plenty of it out there because of all the different strategies that do like to run escape in response to mill strategies and whatnot. So we have just enough kind of graveyard filler with things like Acolyte and whatnot that we can kind of get some value off our Eerie Ultimatum and Drana, but we're more just kind of expecting that our opponent's going to be killing our stuff or whatever, countering it maybe, and then just kind of having stuff in our graveyard that way to get value off of Drana, Eerie Ultimatum, and do cool stuff like that. And Orah is pretty sweet in that regard as well. So we have lots of redundancy here, but it all actually works out pretty well for the most part. Unless your opponent is just not running removal at all and you have an empty graveyard, then you're just kind of leaning on your Cleric synergy, which there's still pretty reasonable Cleric synergy. Get your Vito online, get your Orah online, things like that. And then leaning into permanent side, we get to run Skyclave Apparition, which is a super sweet card as well. And then the nice mix of the 3 ofs with the Cleric, Nullpriest, and Luminarch here. I like that works pretty well. So we can still run some utility spells like Light of Hope, Bloodchief's Thirst, and they've all worked pretty well in this deck. I do like running the Basri's Acolyte, which doesn't see a whole lot of play, but fills out our 4-drop slot very nicely. The one of Mangara as well, and then Acolyte of Affliction, which I've featured in some other kind of more graveyard undergrowth style strategies, obviously before rotation. But yeah, super sweet to run this. And sideboard, then we'll lean into more of the permanent side with the keeping the ultimatum in mind, but still got to run things like Necromentia, which is a pretty cool card, definitely powerful in the current format. A lot of linear type strategies that you can really nerf pretty hard with this, especially when we're light on sort of a discard type effects. So yeah, pretty fun list. Abzan, Clerics, definitely a fun option to consider. Got to do some different things. Orzhov probably a little bit better overall, just for consistency and overall power level, but Abzan is still a pretty sweet way to go. Definitely don't sleep on it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, make sure you jank with a